Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the 2023 Mercury in Taurus retrograde transit. A day late on this. I'm sorry about that. It was Mercury went retrograde in Taurus on April 21st, and it will remain there until May 15th, 2023. Retrograde, Mercury retrograde in general, it's a lot of reviewing your mental process. You could be thinking more about things that were related pertaining to the past. It's more subtle, indirect communication. It can be, basically what thinking may be more, methodical, and it's about more, assimilating information, taking the information in. Basically, I would say Mercury retrograde in general can, often manifest in, being more of a listener as opposed to more of a speaker or communicator. You're having the information come in. It's less actually, you communicating. It's more, a lot of it is just about more about thinking, as opposed to actually speaking and keeping, people when Mercury is retrograde, I would say they could be more secretive and suppress information more. And when you have, the Mercury, retrograde in Taurus, those matters could be, strongly connected with financial, with finances, monetary matters, your values. Now, the thinking of, when you have, again, the fact that Mercury, is retrograde and being in Taurus, you can have, really, it's about, again, suppressing information. It can be, matters that are Taurus related, whether again it's finances or even Taurus subjects, topics. I mean, geology, archaeology, architect could be something connected with architecture. I would say even maybe construction or gardening. If there's any plans connected with that, you might just be, in the thinking process more on that in the review process more so. Than not. And you have to, I mean, at this point, when you have, the retrograde, Mercury, again, it could be more subtle, indirect communications. And it could be where, the fact that it's in Taurus, it could be about, something, monetary related, saying, somebody could make some remark like, oh, it must be, you see these people, working two jobs and they're bringing in, all this money, or, for as an example, somebody saying that to, make a reference to you to work, two jobs as opposed to one to make more money. Or it could be remarks pertaining, to possessions. Oh, look at all these possessions this person has. They may be a compulsive hoarder, and they could be making the reference to you as an example. And when they're really, they're not directly making the remarks to you. And the thing about, this too is, you have, when Mercury is retrograde, it's also can be an auspicious time to go. It could be, like in this case, being in Taurus, especially financial documents, looking at and reassessing your values at this time, reevaluation of those values and things that hold significance and importance to you in your life. I mean, you're going to have, the sun is going to be in Taurus for the duration, for the time of this transit. So, that by itself puts a strong focus, on values, monetary matters, and possessions. And the when you look at this, as well, again, the Mercury retrograde is about a strong, review process, rewinding. You may be thinking about, your values that you had in the past. It could be, when Mercury in Taurus by itself, I mean, can be, rather, intransigent and rigid in one's thinking. And even if you're not actually coming out and speaking about matters that you may be very stubborn and rigid about, it's more inward. You are thinking, your mind may be made up at this time, during this time, or but you're just not actually speaking about it as much. And I want to say, in the beginning part, of this transit, you're going to have the Mercury retrograde is going to conjoin Uranus. So at this time, you could have, Mercury retrograde in Taurus by itself could manifest again in a lot of, reviewing over things of a monetary nature. But when you have the conjunction to Uranus on the positive end, it can be for a number of people, thinking about, something innovative or ingenious, and, reviewing those plans that are, revealing, your ideas connected with it. And the fact that it's in Taurus, it could simply be, some innovative way to make money and generate income, or something else Taurus related. It could be some new product you have in mind for gardening, cultivation. It could be something for geology, architecture, as some examples, banking, anything that could be related to the zodiac sign Taurus. And the thing is too, it's important, to look at this in terms, and a lot of people may be thinking and contemplating more regarding their future during the time that Mercury is conjunct Uranus, and it's a lot of review about where you want to go, your goals and aspirations, and being in Mercury is conjunction in Taurus, the thinking more, again, plotting, deliberate, ponderous. And it's also important to look at the house this falls in your chart, as this could impact how this affects you. Now, mine, in this case, is going to be in my 12th house during the time of the transit. So, not only, Mercury retrograde by itself could be, more suppressed, communications limitations, really not speaking outwardly about things. And the fact that the transit Mercury retrograde in Taurus is going to be in my 12th house for the entire time of the transit can show that the thinking can be even more introverted and introspective. That I'm really less likely to come out and talk about financial plans with others, and things that are associated with the zodiac sign Taurus. It could also be issues with self-worth and self-esteem, how I feel about myself, that I'm keeping more private, at this point in time. And another thing too is that during the latter part of the transit, the Mercury in retrograde in Taurus is going to be making a square to Pluto in Aquarius. So Mercury and squaring Pluto by itself can be expressed, could be in sometimes obsessive or compulsive thinking. You got to be careful with Mercury and Taurus. It could be over monetary matters, and also you have Pluto in Aquarius, though generational, may manifest some cases about secrets of on the internet being unveiled. And when you have the square going on with to Mercury and Taurus, you got to be very prudent and guarded regarding more about potential cyber hackers, people that are trying to get information out of you, to financial data out of you and use it against you at this time. And there may be more susceptibility to releasing, that information. So I would, just be obviously very careful and prudent at that time, especially, if you're getting, inquiries regarding your financial information. Make sure it's from, your own financial institution, and just be careful who you're giving that information out to, because it has a greater chance to be maybe leaked on the internet at that time of that Pluto in Aquarius squaring the Mercury in Taurus, point in time. So thing about this too is also look, in your own chart, as far as aspects that this Mercury and retrograde and Taurus transit may make. I mean, if this is making, say, a sextile or trine to your natal Mars as an example, that could be more, Mars can be about enthusiasm, and it's also about drive and motivation. So it's more, where you may want actually to take, could be more action that you want to take in matters that are, having more of the energy, to do, to write. It could be, it could be writing things that are Taurus related that you may not necessarily divulge to others, but it could be a time, where you're more apt, to, again, to have that energy and vitality, the drive and motivation to do so more so than other times. And also, another example, let's say this transit, Mercury in Taurus retrograde is going to make a conjunction to your natal Saturn. That could indicate that there may be more, mental review regarding a career. And, let's say, me being in Taurus, it can be a career, associated with finance, banking, art, music, again, archaeology, geology, architecture, carpet laying as some examples. It could be even thinking more about, some cases it could be Saturn is connected with chronic illnesses. So it could be something, as a chronic illness associated with the throat, neck, thyroid, esophagus as some examples, and you might be reviewing more what are you going to do about it as some examples. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.